Listen up. We're finally here in Vegas now. I know 2020 has been filled with highs and lows, strategies so bold, and plays that'll make you go crazy. For some, their careers were just getting started, and for others, they had no idea where it was headed. You really think that we were done with this story?
Not like this. Oh,
you must be out of your mind. Amongst the greats, we welcome new and old challengers to the scene. First off, let me introduce you to Xset. This team have a big chip on their shoulder. You have Drip and Filthy making montage plays. These men are looking like a problem. Let's talk about Beast Coast, led by the one and only Fozo and joined by a veteran named Ghost with a bloodline coming from Rise Nation and Sonics. Coming down from Canada, we know all about Mirage. With the change to bring in Hot and Cold from Dark Zero, they're looking to roll past the competition.
Hot and Cold is gonna clutch! What a huge play from Hot and Cold!
Dark Zero's coming into this LAN League to make a statement. With the latest pickup of NJR from Disrupt Gaming, looking to frag away to get some more championship titles.
But it's NJR with the ace!
With NJR going to Dark Zero, this team are looking to disrupt the competition. And with their freshest pickup, they're looking to be nothing less than iconic this season. Like a breath of fresh air, Oxygen are looking to destroy the competition as well. With highlight players behind the likes of Foxay and Laxon, and picking up their two newest players in Kino and Yaga, look for Oxygen to clutch their way to the top of the leaderboard. Now more than ever, this team really looks like the Supersonics. Super has put together the right squad, and picking up players such as Rexon and Yeti, they're looking to muscle their way past everybody. I was just as hurt as everyone at home when I heard that Canadian had retired. But you know what? When it comes to world champions, and yes, I'm talking about Space Station Gaming, watch out for their latest pickup, Rook. And also behind the clutches and big plays from Bosco, Rampy, and the rest of the players out there, you already know what to expect. Another team that's stacked with superstars from top to bottom. When it comes to Chala, you can count on him when it comes to clutches. And when it comes to entry fragging, we all know what Merc does best. There is nothing you can do when you're up against the likes of TSM. Who's ready for 2021? This is the NAL. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, you already know what time it is. Welcome back to the NAL Season 2 Stage 1. I'm going to be your desk host. I'm going to be Valiant, but I'm going to be here with my two analysts, Jesse and Jacob. Fellas, we had our pre-show. I already asked you how you're feeling, but for the importance of today, Jesse, are there going to be any statements that are going to be made?
Oh, absolutely. Today we may have a definitive winning team. At the end of it, we might have just one team on top. At the moment, there's a three-way tie. We've also got a couple teams down towards the bottom yet to find a win, which is really going to be tough. And there are some opportunities. I know our first matchup here, Mirage versus Beast Coast, probably going to be one of those where maybe Mirage can finally find a W. So a lot of storylines going on here. Teams looking to get in that first place, and teams looking to get out of last.
Jacob, man, you didn't get your vaccination shot the day before this time around again, so you better be at 100%, man. What are you excited to see
I am.
this week?
Excited to see. There's a lot of things that could shake up the standings a little bit more than we thought, kind of like Jesse mentioned. I am excited to see kind of what the top half versus bottom half split is going to end up being, because it was pretty pronounced, as in like an overall top four that was really, really good and solid from last stage, but we're already starting to see some teams see if they can't crack into that glass ceiling and get into the top half this time around, so we'll see how different last stage was to this stage.
Same argument, but different graphic. Let's take a look at the standings to see who's up top and who's at the bottom, and we already know it's going to be X7, unfortunately, but maybe they might be able to pull off some huge wins this week, like we saw Disrupt Gaming do last week. But Jesse, Dark Zero's number one, and they're tied with Sonics and TSM. Am I seeing this correctly?
Yeah, I mean, Jacob was alluding to it already. We're starting to see more teams jump into that top four. Historically in NA for a long time, it's been Dark Zero, TSM, Oxygen, and Space Station. But with Space Station falling apart a little bit, and Sonics, looking really good at the beginning of the season, there's definitely been a shift in that. And I'd go as far as to say is that Sonics are one of the top four teams in North America. I don't think that there's a good argument for anybody else. Maybe DG or Space Station will climb up into that bracket. Definitely possible, but I think right now Sonics are looking very, very good, and they've upset the league. Absolutely.
Is it fair to say Sonics are top three? I mean, obviously, yes, right?
I mean, currently they're in the top 3, sure. In terms of overall performance, I think they have a strong argument. That win over Oxygen last week was huge to cement themselves in that
spot. They look so good. But the matches that are happening today, I mean, first off, we already know Beast Coast and Mirage are going to be the first game of the day. But Jacob, last week you said there was a game like TSM versus Sonics that you were excited to watch.
Well, you just kind of spoiled it, like right there. You said it exactly how I was going to say it. Yes, TSM Sonics, it not only occupies like that match number 2, which is kind of like the match of the day kind of slot that we like for the NAL, but it's also about to be a heavyweight bout. It's TSM, one of the more structured teams in the league, and going up against a team that is tied for them in that 3-way tie for first place. And someone like of those two is going to be at the top when that match is said and done. Dark Zero versus Xset will also kind of help to turn the tide of that 3-way tie as well, but it won't be 3-way after this week is over. It will instead probably be 2-way or more of I guess a clear separation between 1, 2, and 3 when this week is said and done.
I'm terrible with math, so I just leave it up to you and Jesse when it comes
what,
to
you
this.
think I do math? Bro, I dropped out of a STEM high school to go do film for my major. You think I'm good at math? Leave that to Jesse.
Hey, we dropped out of everything for esports. That's what matters at the end of the day, okay? But let's talk about the matchup at hand. And first off, Jesse, you know a lot about Beast Coast now. When it comes to this roster, we're talking about Sippin having such a great game last week. But there's other players that you really want to highlight because you believe that even though they had an inability to really show off what they can do and what their potential is, you think that there's still a lot of space for them to improve.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this roster, Anthony Ghost, Fozo, Rudy, and Sippin, like, this is a team that came in from Challenger League. They didn't make any roster moves, so they have a lot of young, new players. There's 4 rookies on the squad, and I think this is obviously going to be a learning stage for them. 2 players that I want to highlight are Anthony and Fozer. These are 2 guys that, in their very first game where they upset TSM, they were 2 of the biggest players. You know, I think that there was that crazy 4K from Fozo early on in the match. Anthony had some really good peaks on defense, playing from Aviator. He had a fantastic impact. So these are 2 players that we've seen, you know, at the very start of the season have hugely explosive moments, and now in these last couple of games they've definitely been struggling. They're not finding that same impact that they did in the first game. They're both tied for the worst cost in the league. That means they're impacting the fewest percentage of rounds in the league, 47%. So they need to step it up in that area, and that's really something where I think it's expected for a team that's so new and so, you know, fresh and learning their roles, still learning to adapt in not only, you know, the highest level in North America, but also on a stage now, on land. There's so much more that goes into these games compared to how they were playing in Challenger League. And so it'll come with time for sure, but that's something that every Playday I'm looking at Beast Coast, I'm saying, when are these players going to step up? When are they going to show us their true form?
Now, Jacob, looking at last week, the Super Week that we had, and looking at Beast Coast overall, right, as a unit, we don't know what to make of this team, man. They're such a wild card in the standings. So they upset TSM 7-3, by the way, which was a beautiful game. They beat Xset 7-3 again in dominant fashion to show that they're a legitimate team. But then we see them lose 3-7 to DZ. Where are Beast Coast exactly when it comes to the standings in your mind?
We're still trying to figure that out. To me, they kind of seem like a team that can really go up or down at a moment's notice. That loss against Dark Zero was kind of textbook. That was DZ really playing into their strengths and not allowing Beast Coast to get a chokehold. And the game against Xset is also kind of an unknown to me because Xset simply weren't not playing as a team up to par like we know that they probably need to at a North American League level. They had a lot of struggles and Beast Coast were able to capitalize pretty quickly. But for me, this team has been a squad for such a long time. Back when they were known as Bruh and their logo was literally a cow stuck in a tire. Like dude, the cow tire is legendary, but so is the core of this team being together for as long as they have been. I don't want to harp on them being second place in Challenge League for too much because right now they're in like 5th place. They're doing okay.
This isn't Challenger League anymore.
This is where the big boys play, and they are currently holding up pretty well against some of those big boys. I don't really know how Mirage is going to stack up for them because they beat Xset pretty handily, and I would like to think the Mirage is a little bit more put together of a squad, but hopefully Beast Coast can find some way to shift our expectations a little bit more towards we are a team that deserves to be here. They are an eternal underdog until they show us a record that proves that they really are meant to be here.
I think that that's completely fair. Now, Jesse, let's turn the ties a little bit. Let's change with the pace. Now, let's bring up Mirage. You know about this, Zorn. I love what Hot and Cold has brought to this team. Look at this roster, and it's full of people that are lovable and full of players that can go lights out whenever they want to. You're talking about Nyx, Loading, Hot and Cold, Benji, and of course, we all love Dream. But this team, they've underperformed as of late, and you got some insider knowledge speaking with somebody on that roster.
Yeah, I had a chat with Christian, the coach of Mirage, who's been pretty vocal on the team and their content and all that stuff about how they built this lineup. And I talked to him. I was like, you guys are 0-3 right now. You have 1 point from an overtime loss against Dark Zero. You know, what does this mean for you guys? And he talked about how he's actually pretty happy with how things have gone because they've gotten their tough games out of the way, right? They played, Dark Zero, TSM, and Space Station? Oxygen? I think it was Oxygen, yeah. So really tough teams right off the bat. Arguably the 3 best teams in North America in their first 3 playdays. But he's glad about that because those are the playdays where they're learning what their weaknesses are and able to improve on them. Those are the playdays where they have a lot of time between each game, right? You know, you have only 1 or 2 matches a week, which means you've got a lot of time to prepare. In fact, Mirage had a bye week or a bye game last week. So they had 1 game a week for the last 3 weeks. And they had so much time to work on those issues now. They're getting into their winnable games, right? They're getting into the games against the beast coasts of the league, which is a team that isn't going to be easy. I'm not saying that. But, Mirage has a way better chance of beating Beast Coast than they did TSM, you know? So these are the games where now that they've practiced, now that they've seen their weaknesses and worked on them, now the time to put them to the test. And so Christian's actually pretty excited about where Mirage could end up at the end of the season.
Hopefully Christian's correct because I see what this team is capable of. And we usually see players pop off and some really not do that. Jacob, walk back with me all the way back to week 1 where we saw the very first play day of Mirage playing, and Hot and Cold was lights out. He's lights out on one end, but on the other, I love loading to death, and we know he's an incredible player. But these first deaths that's been happening to this team has really set them back from being great, in my opinion. When you look at this team, man, you think that there's 2 sides of the coin.
There are 2 sides of the coin. Hot and Cold and Benji are kind of holding down the top line. They're the ones that are, playing way more frag heavy. Their stats definitely show for it. And this man in particular has had probably one of the greatest turnarounds that we've seen in quite some time in the North American League, playing support on Dark Zero to playing far more fast, loose, and aggressive with Mirage. And he's now 1.23 rated with 38 kills overall through 3 games. He is having a lights out stage so far, but the rest of his team isn't quite really holding up the slack. And I did still kind of want to harp on loading. Not necessarily just because he's been, he's one of the more bottom rated players that's on the entirety of the North American League at the moment, but a 9% survival rating is something that we have talked about previously. That's not loading. That's Benji. That's my man. He from CL. He's been doing really good this stage, but at least in loading's case, we're still kind of expecting something from him that isn't nearly as, I don't want to say flippant. I'm trying to figure out like his style.
Yeah.
Like to me, it's like he needs to be having more impact. He's playing more Nomad. He's trying to stick back and anchor on the site, but he's still dying very early, and he has one of the biggest discrepancies between his kills and his deaths at -19. And for his part, him and Dream are holding up the bottom end of Mirage's team thus far, and there seems to be a disconnect between the top and the bottom for Mirage, at least from a stats point of view. I'm curious to see how they're all able to kind of merge into one squad. The one player we haven't talked about is Nyx, because he's been playing pretty solid for Mirage thus far. I just don't really know what it takes to get both sides of the coin to become one solid team structure so far.
I think it takes that one good win that really gets the ball rolling, Jacob. I feel like that's it, man. Wouldn't you agree? I feel like going
it's
against
true, but
Beast
Mirage
Coast
still needs a win, period, regardless if it's a good win or not, Like, that's what they're fighting for right now.
I think that they don't have a better chance than now to really start getting the ball rolling, because if it's not now, it's going to be bad. But the maps, I believe, are in production. Let me know if I'm correct on that. But Jesse, you know a lot about loading. You know a lot about this team. What play style, real quick, do you want to see loading try to change up when it comes to playing on that Nomad to be flank watch? Because he has to play it safer. He doesn't always have to, getting all the kills, but him staying alive is so vital to cut off rotations, right?
Yeah, I think maybe it just needs to be a little bit more passive with his positioning. I think sometimes he's more eager to take fights with those roamers that want to come in and disrupt the back line. He's sort of willing to take those engagements. Maybe he just needs to pull it back. I will say, talking with Christian, he did feel like loading had his best game in their last matchup. And stats-wise, he did, have the best survival rate that he's had all season in that last match. It still wasn't great, but at least it wasn't significantly lower than the rest of the team.
He got something.
Yeah, so I think we are seeing improvements from loading. They're slow, and he's still, struggling at the bottom of the stats board. But, there's improvements being seen, and I have faith that Loading's a player that will bounce back.
Yes, now Jesse. All right, we heard enough about Beast Coast and Mirage. Well, not really, right? But we know the map that they're going to go on. So the screen is going to come up soon, and you already know, man. This is your domain. We're just watching. What's going on?
I'm expecting a Consulate or a Coastline, perhaps. Well, there goes Consulate right off the bat, as Mirage will take that out, and there's Coastline. So what do I know? Absolutely nothing. A lot of these maps do probably favor Beast Coast a little bit more, but we don't really see a lot from Mirage because they haven't played a lot of games. This core is pretty brand new. Our last 2 maps, Chalet is in the pool. Maybe it's possible with teams that we don't know much about. They could absolutely throw a curveball, but it's not going to happen today. It's going to be Clubhouse instead between Beast Coast and Mirage. For Beast Coast, they played this map twice at the SI qualifiers, including winning it in the grand finals. They seem to have a pretty strong record on this map. They definitely are fans of it. Mirage, on the other hand, we haven't really seen their new core on this map, but as far as the org and their history, they have 2 plays on it ever. It was their auto ban for their old core. The recent game was losing 7-1 to Altiora in the Canadian Grand Finals, but different core a long time ago. Hard to read too much into that stat.
I really miss the old Altiora, by the way, but we're gonna go to Clubhouse and fellas, this is time for predictions. I actually lost count of who was in the lead. I know that I'm catching up though, and I
think it's Jesse and me, and you're at the bottom still.
Okay, really? Okay. I'm gonna make my comeback soon, but time for predictions.
Right.
Make it good. Be as long as you want. I really don't care, Jacob. Because right now, Mirage is looking to get a big win against Beast Coast. And I think that this win is going to be more than just that one added number to the win column for this roster.
So at least in my case, it's a hard one to pick. I want to believe that Mirage are able to use those mistakes that they've learned from the past 3 weeks and kind of bring things together more and be a cohesive team, especially considering Jesse has a good point. There are some pretty, I guess, easier games ahead of them with teams that don't have nearly as tenacious of a reputation or as crazy of a record so far as they have through the NAL. But for me, I'm going to go with Beast Coast in this case. Mirage haven't really shown me a lot of that cohesiveness just yet. There's a lot of question marks that I still have about them. Some players are performing really, really well, but everyone on Beast Coast, with the exception of one player, are way, way tighter from a statistics point of view. So on paper, to me, it's kind of a safe bet. Mirage need to show me something, and Beast Coast right now have 2 wins under their belt and have shown me a lot more. So just from the way that the stage is played out, I'm going to go with Beast Coast in this one.
I actually laughed a little bit. I don't know when it comes to predictions if being like 9 and 16, like our ratio, like I wonder if it's good or bad.
I gotta raise my percentage up, so I think it might be time to play the safe bet card a little bit.
Just no, Jacob, no one likes that. We're gonna take away the numbers if you do that.
I will do whatever I can to win this stage. I don't care if it's lame. I don't care.
Oh, we'll see. Jesse, Jacob had a really solid argument when it came to that. Do you think that Beast Coast has shown us more so far enough to really get your pick for this prediction?
Yeah, Jacob definitely pulled out all the numbers and the analysis, and that was great. But I woke up this morning and there was snow on the ground. In Canada, usually that's cause for complaint, but I see it as a sign of good luck. Mirage coming from the north, I think they're going to take this game. Their first win of the season feels like it's coming right around the corner. I'm going to take them over Beast Coast.
Jacob, these analogies Jesse's coming up with.
He woke up, there was snow on the ground, and he thought the Canadian team was going to win, but Mirage has 1 Canadian on it.
It
Wait,
matters.
the org, the Canadian org.
It's the Canadian org.
That's what it counts.
Canadian
legacy. There you go.
It works. It works out. Okay, I'm going to be completely honest. I think that Mirage is really good, but I'm going to be real. I love Dream and I love Loading. But the thing is, they have underperformed in such a crazy way. Now, the thing is, I don't expect Dream to pop off and I don't expect Loading to have crazy numbers. Not everybody has to be thinking Nate when it comes to flank watch. But the one thing that I do want to see when it comes to this matchup, I want to see if now Loading can utilize that information, use that drone, and just the utility that comes with no matter whoever he might bring out of, the gates to just be vital in the game plan for Mirage. Han Code, switching off of Hard Breach, has been a standout player. I love what he's shown day in and day out because he's shown a level of consistency that we haven't seen when he was on Dark Zero. Han Code takes over the lobbies now, but I don't think that's enough. And with that being said, man, I think that if one small problem of someone staying alive at the beginning of the round is holding a team back ultimately, I'm going to rock with them. They're going to fix that. Loading isn't a bad player. Loading isn't a bad player. Dream isn't terrible either. This Mirage team has what it takes, and I am going to go all in for Mirage.
Okay.
All right.
What? Wait.
You went on a roller coaster there.
I'm going to be honest. I really wasn't listening to you, Jacob.
Betrayed?
I was like, wait, I'm going for Mirage. Why is Jacob rooting for me right now? But I'm rocking with the Canadian org. I think they have what it takes, man. Jacob, It doesn't sound that blasphemous, does it? Mirage, they don't look that bad, dude.
I don't know what to say. I was over here just about to support you and be like, yeah, welcome to the winning side, and then you do that to me.
Yeah.
I've been debated again.
All right, so how about this then, Jacob? Let's make it fair. Now, as the players are getting ready for the lobby, for all the viewers out there, I want to thank you for being patient. We're making sure everything's ready to go before we toss it over to the casters. Jacob, if there's an X Factor right now, one for, I would say, the team that you predicted, Beast Coast. Who's it going to be? Give me a reason why this player is going to stand out, whether it's support or fragging.
It's somebody that you actually highlight a lot in our calls when we're watching the games while it's going on, and that's probably going to end up being Fozo. You like to hype him up a lot. You're saying Fozo is so good, he's got the skill, he's been in the system for a long time, and he has been. For me, it's kind of interesting because he sits in 4th place from a stats point of view for the rest of Beast Coast. It's Ghost, Rudy, Sipin, and then Fozo, which is, I think, for the roles that he plays, it's kind of like, yeah, Jesse has it right. It makes sense. He's playing the exact same ops as Loading. In terms of his most played ops, he's playing Nomad, he's playing Mute, he's playing a lot of flank watch, he's playing a lot of anchor positions. And it's kind of going to be the duel in my head, I think, especially between Loading and for Fozo. So if Fozo is doing better than Loading, which the proof is in the pudding already, the evidence is kind of there that he probably will, then Beast Coast can just hold things down, keep things consistent, and that's probably the only thing that they really need to worry about. If Fozo plays well, so does Beast Coast.
Jesse, who's going to be the game breaker for Mirage, man? Who's going to step up and really take over? IGL, it really doesn't matter.
I think the main player that's underrated on Mirage that doesn't get enough credit because Hot and steals a lot of the spotlight, justifiably so in some cases, it's got to be Benji. No, I think that Benji, he had a tough game in the last matchup in the 3rd week. He did struggle a little bit, but, you know, we saw in those first couple of games, he can be fantastic. His entry is insane, the way that he plays on it. It's gone down a little bit because of that last match. I believe he's 5-5 right now on those entry statistics, but I'm a big fan of Benji. I really wasn't hyping him up. I was super underestimating him at the start of the season. He came out with his first couple of games, blew me out of the water. I really wasn't expecting that from him. So he's done a lot to prove himself in my mind, and I expect he's going to carry this one for Mirage.
Now, for everybody out there, we only have one player in the lobby right now. Shout out to Blue for letting us know that. But now, I always do this thing where I ask the viewers out there to follow our social pages. I beg, I ask kindly. I even smile for them, right? Jacob, Jesse, I'm going to leave it to one of you. No, Jacob, I'm going to leave it to you. I want you to tell them why they need to follow our social pages, okay? And Jesse, I want you to grade them.
Well, there's a Twitter and an Instagram. There's actually multiple Twitter accounts that go and share the results, the statistics, the memes that we have from every game of the North American League. And yeah, there are a lot of really good people behind the scenes that understand like the way that we work, the jokes that make sense, the ones that don't, and especially ragging on me for not having a Predator laptop yet. Predator, please give me one, I beg, so that I can start doing those ad spots as well. I really, really need one. Thank you so much for sending me one, hopefully in the future. But you can head right over to our social pages and you can find all of that content. There is stuff that happens on the stream, there's stuff that we can put on YouTube videos, but the way that the Twitter and the Instagram pages work is far more accessible for those of you who don't want to worry about watching longer form content. It's very quick, it's bite-sized, and it's most of the time hilarious, even if it still involves bullying me. So go follow him.
All right.
Felly, I'd say that was an A- delivery of the socials. It was very good, but the fact that you
I do it off the cuff.
to beg for a laptop.
I do it off the cuff every time.
He
We
did have to beg for the laptop. I feel like we should go as long as we can to continue to meme about Jacob not having a laptop. Jesse, how do you feel?
Why? You want to see me suffer?
Idea. I think that's a good idea. Laptops are still going
team.
out. Of course, you can still pick up yours. And actually, just somebody I know actually just got a laptop recently. So I like to hold those over Jacob's head. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, you know, the more people that have laptops that aren't Jacob, I think the better for, you know, the world as a whole.
Okay.
For sure.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, finally the players are ready. Sorry about all of that, Phil. You guys know we love you out there. But before we jump into that game, as we get the lobby just secure and completed, trust me, it's coming soon. We actually have a really good content piece here for you. You saw last time, we saw what happened with Dark Zero. Really good piece coming in from NJR. But this time around, I want to give a big shout out to Mirage and Ollie for Northern Lights. So hopefully you guys like it as much as we do. And we'll see you soon after this piece.
Zero still on the outside. Still Zero should be able to shut this down out.
post-recording. Like I said, you can take the time to think about your answer, but here's the question. What does being on the stage mean for you?
Being on the stage, for me, it's basically, you know, what every pro player is like strive to do is like get onto a LAN stage and make your name up there.
When I got cut from Disrupt and I was in that lull of looking for teams or, you know, this free agency period, that was really hard for me because in my head, all I knew was that no matter what it takes, I wanted to get back to where I knew that I could be, where I, in my mind, where I should be, which is on stage competing with a top performing team. And through hard work and perseverance, today's that day. So. So I just want to say real quick, obviously this is everything we've been practicing for. We've been putting a lot of fucking work. I want everyone to come out and play our game. Don't, like, if they're coming out the gate super aggressive, coming out super fast, let Dream call how he wants to handle that on defense. If we want to match our aggression, let's just come out, let's be confident, let's take the fight.
Just remember that this game means like nothing more than any other game we've played.
There's not really higher stakes per se, but you feel like there is. Just because, like, you look to your left or your right and you actually see your opponent and you're like, I'm gonna smash that dude.
So let's get it.
All right, so go.
Mirage on three.
Mirage 3.
1, 2, 3, Mirage!
Alrighty.
Good luck, guys. Good luck.
Hey, Brandon, you're bald. You're bald. Your haircut's due.
Bozo, team captain of Beast Coast, some support player. You're watching Rainbow Six NAL.
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our first game of the day here from the NAL. My name is Blue. Joining me here on the broadcast is Stokes, and we're about to get started with their first match here between Mirage and Beast Coast. Both these teams having a bit of a bumpy ride to start off their seasons. Beast Coast obviously looking a little bit more promising as of late due to their recent victory over Xset, but at the same time, Mirage still struggling to find impact. And in that last matchup, every single player except Hot and Cold struggling to make impact in the stats department. Possibly going to be a rough ride for them here today. But Stokes, what do you think of the action?
Oh man, there's a lot of stuff to behold for both of us here today, but it all starts now with Beast Coast versus Mirage. And let me tell you, it's quite the close race right now in the standings, not only between these two, because they are within striking distance of each other. Not given the points today, but Mirage definitely needs that bounce back after the rough matches early on, but definitely they're harder set. But looking through things now, especially for Beast Coast, they're actually within 2 points of the leader right now. Only 2 points separate first place all the way down to 6th right now inside of the NAL, so this is a really, really big deal.
Yeah, we saw Ghost really have an upswing in their match versus Xset, and specifically coming, for Beast Coast, this is talking about two of their players. Ghost and Sippin had absolutely phenomenal performances in the previous matchup, so
for me, looking at the individuals today, those are the two that I have my eyes peeled on the most, and I have the highest expectations for if we're going to continue to see that performance carry over from the previous matchup. Hopefully not going to be the only players showing up. Of course, we've got some excellent players besides those two on this roster that's certainly going to show up if the need should arise for them also. But we've got a lot of veteran statuses, or a lot of veteran players with that status on the other side of the coin for Mirage. So we expect the same thing out of quite a few of them. Nick's included in that as well, even though he's currently taking up the leadership position on this team.
Yeah, I think that the highlight player right now inside of all 10 of these guys in this lobby has got to be Hot and Cold. That's the hot button topic right now for everyone, what Hotten's been able to do since leaving Dark Zero and joining this Mirage squad. It's a familiar scene for him, obviously, having Nyx and Christian there, but they haven't been able to find their stride just yet. I think it all starts here today, but we really need to see the rest of this roster surrounding Hot and Cold pick up the pieces, because right now it's not looking too hot. Not a single other player besides Hotten over a rating of a 1.0, the second player being Benji Mula with a 0.94.
Well, talking about the ratings for these players here, and talking about Hot and Cold a little bit more, just a single point also separates Hot and Cold and Ghost in cost for this stage. We want to know between you guys at home, who is going to have the higher cost after this matchup? Will it be Ghost, or will Hot and Cold continue to dominate that by a slight margin he currently has? Be sure to go ahead and let us know either in the Twitch chat, over on our socials as well, at R6 Esports NA. Belly will have the results a little bit later for you guys on the analysis desk after the game.
And just for you guys wondering what is going on with cost, in case you guys don't know what that means, it's kills, objectives, assists, or what is it? Basically, it's your amount of effectiveness inside of the round, percentile-wise. Trades, and I forget what the S is. That's the only one I forgot. But either way, it's basically your effectiveness inside of the round. So a higher percentage is a better percentage. So just make sure you guys are looking out for that. And survivability. That's the other percentage. I always forget the S in that, but yeah, it is like survivability, which is the thing that we're definitely going to need out of loading today.
It is like a really long acronym, to be fair. So I don't play before.
And not one that's used often either. I think this is the only time that I've ever seen it game-wise. But that doesn't matter, folks. We're getting into it. Beast Coast versus Mirage here on Clubhouse.
Yeah, cost generally translates to a percentage of how much a player is contributing to the team's victory. As we saw, for instance, in the Disrupt's most recent game, Iconic managed to get 100% cost as he was finding contribution to every single one round that his team played, meaning that he ended up with a full 100% on that stat, which is still very impressive. That's still a very difficult feat to achieve. But we're getting into the bans now. Already seeing one of them go off. Beast Coast knocking out Ash. The response is Hibata from Mirage.
And not a bad response at all, getting rid of the Hatch Queen. Beast Coast still sticking to their unorthodox soft breach bans. We've already seen him ban Buck this season, Sledge this season, Ash this season as well, and they're just sticking around with that kind of stuff, just limiting the soft destruction potential of the offense here, and that's going to be a good start for them, getting rid of this Ash. Now getting into the defensive bans now for both of these squads. Maestro will start us off for Mirage, and I really like this. Granted, Echo has obviously gotten nerfed recently to where you can actually see his drones. They're no longer invisible when those yokais are on the ceiling, and those evil eyes are a little bit more difficult to deal with given that you need explosive utility to get rid of them, so best to just end up getting rid of him. Last one going to be Wamai, and that one's pretty self-explanatory.
Not to mention the Alda for Maestro as well, which just gives teams a literal turret to sit in the back of their site usually, so that's another obviously less important, but also probably being considered when banning out that operator also, as Echo have as great of a kit, although his gun's still pretty good, at least in my opinion. But working our way into the first round here, Beast Coast going to start out with an upstairs defense. They're going right to cache and CCTV here. Once again, incorporating the Aruni into play, as we've been seeing a lot of teams do that for a lot of sites since she was unlocked for play at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and this is an operator that we're starting to see more and more play from, like you said. And the funny thing about Aruni is a lot of people didn't know how she was going to affect the meta when she came in, but we can see a lot of teams getting good mileage out here, especially on Oregon, where we saw a lot of E-box setups, but she's still is able to find a lot of play when it comes to sites like this, where it comes to congested areas where they're going to have to attempt to work through possibly a breach or a window. So we'll see where Anthony and the rest of Beast Coast want to set those up. But as for the offensive lineup, since we did have that soft destruction ban, we'll have to see what they try and slot in instead of Ash. It looks to be, as of right now, a not only Yana, but also a Capitao coming into play here for MRG.
Yana seems to be the go-to for a lot of teams, though, when Ash is banned out. So we're going to see that trend continue here with Nyx's pick. That intel will also prove itself to be very important. Heart Breach is going to be pretty prominent on the loadout here for Mirage as well. Obviously, you've got Maverick and Thorny, but they're also bringing the extra can opener as loading secondary utility. So plenty of options to get the walls down. Heart Breach is incredibly important for getting proper access to this site, because if you're only able to open up one of, say, the 2 or 3 angles you ideally would want to open as the attacking team, that's going to leave you in a very, very tough position to be able to actually get into the site without getting melted down by your opponents here. You can see, speaking of the opponents, Beast Coast trying to make this wall opening a little bit more difficult there by messing up the soft paneling on the outside, but thankfully no actual denial on the other end means that they can just chuck the thermite charge on it and get rid of it nice and easy.
Well, they did end up getting rid of a mute jammer there, but that was just quickly dealt with the Mav Torch from Hot. Not too big of a deal for them.
We don't consider that real denial in this in this church.
In the Church of Denial, mute jammers are considered, D, if not F tier. If you're not bandit tricking in 2021, are you really playing Rainbow Six Siege? Fozo and Sippin! Oh no, they're not ready for the run out so early on, and Sippin's gonna get a freebie onto Hot and Cold, but the damage is starting to come back onto Beast Coast. Fozo with some awkward positioning inside of Rafters, and Anthony still playing down low inside of Lounge. Mirage right now have decent utility and actually a pretty strong position, at least for loading here, as he's worked in to the bottom of Garage, has an opportunity to take down Anthony, and they'll equalize.
Nice saving grace position there from loading, as Stokes have been mentioning, due to that forward progress he has. Mirage still keep a semi-workable position on the inside of this round after losing 2 players to those aggressive moves from Beast Coast. You can see, however, the 3 remaining players on Beast Coast still at full HP, and also with an extra Nitro cell to use here on Rudy, they have the capability to deny the default plant walk-in from Garage should we end up seeing Mirage try to go for it here. However, never mind. That Nitro Cell is going to literally fall to the ground as Loading picks up yet another kill, joining the assault on the top Rafters in Garage. Sippin prepared to make an aggressive move since there's no pressure on the inside. He's going to try to go for the swing, but no, it's countered. Mirage too smooth in their operation on the execution of this site. They take out Sippin when he tries to go for the aggressive play. Ghost trying to work these gas charges, but not making it too easy. He does interrupt the first plant attempt, but keep in mind, alone here in the 1v3, and another beautiful shot from Loading as Mirage spin that round on its heels into their favor to take round 1 on the attack.
And that's going to be the first big multi-kill we've seen from Not Loading in his pro career here for Mirage. So that's a really, really big deal, starting things off strong in this game where we haven't seen him do so in the past. So that obviously bodes really, really well for how this offense is going to go into the future. As for Beast Coast, inside of that last round, not the worst setup in the world. They were able to get 2 big lead-off picks, but they couldn't really translate it into anything. The aggressive positioning got punished there for them inside of Garage, and once Mirage had control of that and were actually able to work over to the panels for CCTV, that was practically all she wrote. They had the 3 people necessary for that position, and Not Loading, just shooting extremely straight when it came down to it. Also had some good intuition to end up catching Ghost off guard inside of Cash with that free fire. So it was really just Beast Coast not able to hold on to Garage that ended up losing them that round, and Mirage with a really good read on the situation as to how Beast Coast were going to respond to their action.
Mirage are going to get the chance to attack the same exact site as Beast Coast have chosen to defend upstairs here. Again, operator lineup is going to be the same for Mirage. Beast Coast will go for a slight adjustment, though, as they'll swap out the mute for a Valkyrie instead, hopefully giving them some greater mid-round intel, which seems to be where they struggled there, especially with the final push from Mirage working its way into the Garage. See if that changeup will work itself off. I think it's a pretty good switch when you consider the mute jammer has did virtually nothing on that previous round here. Probably going to be better suited to bring the Valk into play. A little bit of extra aggression maybe going to come from that as well due to the playstyle of Valkyrie, but we'll follow that up a little bit later in this round.
And this is something that we've seen usually from Beast Coast, actually. If you guys actually go to SiegeGG and look at their stats, there's some pretty unique things on there. And the most unique thing about them is they actually have 3 separate people that are technically speaking Jaeger mains on their defensive side. So what that tells you is that they rotate operators around quite often. And we're going to have another example of that here with Anthony switching off of the Aruni, giving that over to Fozo, and picking up that Valkyrie that John was just talking about. Now, this is going to have an effect over how they actually play this site overall. You can see Beast Coast are backed off of CCTV CCTV, and that's because they want Mirage to attempt to put a plant down. They have coverage of that, more than likely with some black eyes placed around, as well as across the entirety of the map to get that intel that's so very important to them. So we'll see if Beast Coast can finally lock things up here, as they're going to blow the bottom of Garage. Now, this is something that they did the last time, and how they actually ended up with not loading inside of Harry Potter right beneath Bozo, and he was able to get that nice frag onto Anthony Pryor.
Bozo continuing to wait out time here from the catwalk, and he's not going to be the only one. Other players close to the site and holding below it as well inside of the lobby area. Loading, going to start to make a play. Got the incendiaries chucked into the air, although it's going to spread a little bit weird, so I don't know if it actually did the damage needed to force the player out. Doesn't look like it, as Bozo is fragging out in the meantime here. Downing Nyx. He is taking some heat there from the incendiaries, but still in a workable position at about 2/3 of his HP overall. He'll continue to maintain this spot since it's a workable angle against anyone from Mirage that might try to take stairs control. Drone's actually going to spot him while he's on cams here, so it might be a chance for Mirage to find impact.
Yeah, things all of a sudden getting very problematic for Mirage. They truly don't have the assistance to try and deal with Raptors right now. They're going to go for the secondary play here. Nice nade. Oh, Cotton, and oh, that's exactly how it was rode up. Good stuff from him. Nice lineup there on the vents to bounce that into Raptors, but that took a little bit longer than initially thought from Mirage, so that'll put them down into the minute mark, and they truly haven't dealt with everyone, including Rudy, who's currently inside of Oil Pit with zero information on him. A drone finally goes downstairs. They'll actually get some marks on him. Will they chase him? No. Loading actually just hits the deck, able to find the angle, clean up one. Can he get the second? He can indeed, with the refrag for Hot and Cold.
Loading is a rock of consistency right now in these mid-round frags.
Where was
here.
this?
Already at 5-2. The only other people that have kills on his team only have a total of 3. So obviously only in round 2 here, but Loading outpacing his teammates and the competition by quite a large margin right now here. Dream getting ready to push in with Loading and the rest of his teammates. To swing to the inside, there is going to be a gas charge that does heavy damage to Dream. Nothing they can't recover from, though, as they continue to rebuff their push to the inside of security. Anthony's going to get pressed outside. Ghost trying to play to an alternate angle. Anthony actually cutting off the push from Benji to eliminate him, but Dream trades it, leaves it all down onto Dream as well after Anthony gets his second. Dream will just full commit himself to the plant right here. Nitro's going to go in. Is it a winner? And yes, it is. The plant still goes down, so credit to Mirage for that. But the immediate retake comes in from Anthony and the rest of Beast Coast as they're going to claim their own round here on number 2.
Anthony with the phone call to wrap up round 2 for Beast Coast, and that was just textbook from them. That was the plan from the get-go, was play for the plant. That's exactly what they did. Were able to shut it down all because of that. Just had the utility necessary to do so. So for Mirage, it's opening the door with not loading now, but no one else able to actually keep it open, and that's the main issue. No one's picking up these frags that are such a necessity to actually work their way back into sight. Another big problem there being it gets down to the 2v1, and Loading, I love you, man, I really do, but you should not probably push the last guy inside of construction and just die. That is a very, very silly thing to do for your team, and I don't want to see you do it again. So let's switch on over to Jackal and try and right the ship this time around.
Yeah, seem to have the confidence there in order to try and isolate out that final player on Beast Coast and close out the round, but ends up being a mistake to separate those 1v1s as Stokes had been mentioning there. Just gives the lone player all the opportunities that he needs to close out on those fights and ultimately send in the winning Nitro cell to kill the planter as well. So great work from Beast Coast. Great choice to rebound on that site also. Thought it was a bit of a risk considering how one-sided the round appeared at the end of it, but Beast Coast proved me wrong in a big way there as they're able to take control of it on the reattempt and work their way down into the basement for their second site play now.
And it looks like they're going to be going for the roam setup as well as, well, we're all used to this lineup right here. Castle, Vigil, Mute, and Mozzie to make sure that this goes off without a hitch, and then just spice life there. You know, Malusi right on top of that cake. So see if this works out well for them. How will Mirage respond? That's the big question right now. Obviously, they saw the lineup and what was going on. That's where that 6 pick came from Loading, as they wanted something to deal with the roam game, and Jackal can definitely suffice for that. So as they enter the field, we'll see if they try and push into this roam setup or if they just try to hit sight.
Keep an eye as most of the players on Mirage are going to be working their way in from the strip side of the map here, and in fact going up to the roof pretty quickly too. So early work on the balcony more than likely going to be in play. A couple players Loading specifically probably going to investigate near the windows to see if they can get any early positions from the scan here, if they're specifically looking to hunt down these players. Like Stokes had mentioned though, there's a big roam game in play right now for Beast Coast with 3, I believe, players sitting away from the second floor here. So Mirage will have to contend with that more than likely. Of before they end up pushing their way into the site. Although it is a top site, though, so there is a possible viability where Mirage might be able to work their way around this without directly going for the deal with it. What? Never mind, we're on a basement site. What am I talking about? Mirage going to work their way in here, try to take control in just a second, and more than likely deal with this roam game that's still extended out on the site as they clear out the second floor. But no, the trade! Nicely done. Loading and Sippin both going to fall by the man's staircase. Anthony can immediately take the place of Sippin and jump back in the fight right there. But still, goes down to a 4v4, and Mirage are going to have to slow their roll.
That is such a big deal. Oh my goodness. Okay, so losing loading here takes away a lot of soft destruction from these guys. Obviously, Benji can assist with that, but no one else truly can. And the issue is that if Mirage ends up going for a armory plant, they're necessarily going to have to get the kitchen hatch and play from that area for Overwatch. And that could give them a lot of issues trying to break up that floor and make sure that no one is actually playing deep inside of armory. But we'll have to keep you guys up to date on that one. As for right now, though, Mirage have actually handled the roam game from Beast Coast, and that was a touch worrisome early on just because they didn't have the cutoff set up, instead forcing the Jackal in, but that ended up in a trade anyways. So now we sit 4v4 going into the last minute as MRG begin breaking up these hatches and opening up more ways downstairs.
Anthony continuing to play out an aggressive position against the main stairs push. I think he's right there just trying to figure out the drone that was swinging around onto the inside of Moto, but it's going to survive for at least now as Mirage continue to try and gather intel to justify their push. As Stokes had mentioned, without loading, it's very difficult to figure out the positions of these players. They're going to have to rely on their drones, but as you can see from that, they are getting a little bit low on the overall drone count. Only half of them remaining to be used here, and quite a few of them, I believe, already preset and needing to stay in their current position. So in comes the execute, at least from Nyx. He'll drop into Moto with one other teammate. We are going to see a Nitro Cell chucked out by Rudy to the sky. See if it finds impact in a second. Unfortunately not. Nyx working his way in is going to be able to find one frag, but Rudy from the back of the site trades it back out, adds one more to his count too as he finishes off Nyx. More players going to be able to press in, finish off Rudy, and vie for a plant, but the problem is he's got to stick this. There's no way to let it go. Ghost around the corner, finish it off once again for Beast Coast as they take a second round.
Oh, this is just really, really rough right now when it comes to Mirage's play. They haven't been able to get the openings that they necessarily need to get these plants down. That previous round inside of CCTV, obviously a mistake inside of the 1vX situation for Mirage. This time around, just simply getting caught up on the timer once again. So it goes down to that. They're able to clean it up simply because of that being in the way that it was. We're not able to keep anybody alive down to the 1 versus 1. So lots of problems here. So it looks like loading can't pick an operator. Hopefully he can possibly get a 6 pick in, but will more than likely get an admin. But either way, going back to that previous round, it was a really strong beginning there for Mirage, able to get the pick. But
there we go.
There's a couple of different things that were going on there that simply didn't make very much sense. Like having Nyx on Yana, but never using the hologram and things like that. Like things where, they could have gotten intel through certain avenues, but they just chose not to. And it's very quizzical. To put it very easily, I'm kind of dumbfounded as to why they didn't do that, because they had plenty of time once they got control to try and figure out what was going on site, but they never actually put the plan into motion.
Well, meanwhile, Mirage trying to mind game their opponents into thinking that they truly picked Blitz there as loading messes around with his opponents a little bit. But either way, they are going to be able to get that 6 pick out, and they'll bring the Capitao in, which was their original intended choice, since they're going back to attacking an upstairs site. Not going to need that Jackal anymore, and unfortunately that Jackal didn't really see much play anyway due to the early elimination from that trade over on the main staircase. Taking a look at Beast Coast, we are going to see a couple new elements come into play for them, most notably over there on Fozo as well. Bringing an Alibi into the mix. An operator we used to see a little bit from every now and again, but I'll be honest, I haven't seen an Alibi pick in quite some time, so
she's really strong when it comes to this site in particular. Really, we see her come into play when it comes to a site that's accessible from the outside of the building, and there's going to be pre-fires coming through either a lot of walls or a lot of windows. And you're going to want to set those up around those pre-fire areas where you think bullets are going to be flying through, because that's free intel, as well as it tries to make it to where the offense doesn't feel like they're safe in actually doing that. You know what I mean? They don't want to pre-fire inside anymore and try and get anybody crossing, because they might end up bumping into a clone, as well as Fozo can have some outplay potential as well, but that's extremely risky, as we're all aware. Big frags already coming through as Hot and Cold gets a refrag for Dream after Rudy Nitro sells him.
So once again, Early exchange between two different players brings us down into a 4v4. The way our last round started out here, this time going to lead to the loss of the hard breach on Mirage, though, although I do believe they were able to at least get the balcony open before losing Dream. Either way, that's still going to be a notable loss. They only had that one extra secondary soft breach there on loading, and it's already been used also. So that might have actually... No, that explosion's way too big. Never mind. But either way, it's been used. They're no longer going to have that as an option to open up the secondary panel going into the bathroom, should they choose to want to play it out that way, which may be in the cards for them when you look and see that you've got the Surya gate sitting on the gym door. A little bit difficult to access that path, so Mirage is going to have to figure out exactly how they want to play this now, seeing as they've lost that Thermite and would have to try and get it done with a Maverick, which is not going to be a very easy thing to do here, considering how close to their opponents and how their opponents could potentially swing them in the middle of breaking down that wall.
Oh, Mirage with 2 big picks, 3 big picks actually, as a ton of Beast Coast falls down. Anthony with the last slip up from the squad will mean demise in round 4 as Mirage simply wait. That's truly what they did. They had 2 on main stairs, 2 on Jacuzzi balcony, and all of Beast Coast peaks them. They lose every single gunfight. It's all over from there. We're at 2-2.
Yeah, I love how I prepped up all that talk about how Mirage were going to have problems trying to work their way in because of the loss of the hard breach. And then they just sit outside and everybody on Beast Coast peaks them and they end up winning the round anyway because of that route. So the heck with my contribution to the round, I guess.
I mean, hey, you know, it's still duly noted, and we really do appreciate your time here, John, on the NAL desk, you know. Anyways, coming down to the wire there inside of that last round, or coming down to the final little moments there, and really just trying to get into what happened, it seemed like the plan for Mirage early on was get Nyx in to be a nuisance on main stairs. Now, they did that by actually getting him in through Freezer. No one truly got a read on him from Beast Coast, just because no camera down there, no camera in the main hall. The only area that you're going to be able to get any info from is going to be bar main cam. And instead of him obviously walking in there, we actually ended up having Benji rotate in from somewhere else and not only take out that camera, but also play the lower area for the rotation for Nyx inside of bar. So they set that up so nobody can try and rotate in between logistics as well as master, all except for obviously the rotation hole that Beast Coast is going to make, and he just basically mans the top of the staircase area, so they have a crossfire on that with the Jacuzzi balcony. And then after that, they simply just waited for somebody to peek one of those angles, and it just so happened to be that Beast Coast for some reason felt as though they could get really aggressive towards Jacuzzi balcony, and they weren't ready for those players, even though that they knew that they were there. In fact, Mirage's entire play for main stairs had no part in any of those frags that came through at the end.
So Beast Coast feeling confident they can correct those mistakes in the previous round just by slowing down the aggression a little bit. We're going to go back over here to the inside of gym bedroom, see if they can make another go at it before rotating back to the other sites they have available. You know, the Surya gate's going to work its way onto the logistics roof hatch there too, so trying to slow down the pacing for Mirage as they try to work their way in, and Nyx will realize that as he breaks open the soft hatch sitting on top.
This is a very, very different look from what we had previously from Beast Coast. This is a lot more utility usage inside of here, especially with Rudy on this mirror window setup. Now, this is something that we don't see too often, but we'll basically give you the gist of what's going on. Rudy's job right now is to overlook all of construction as well as man the construction window. And this prevents a lot of pressure from Mirage in this area if they do try and go for a construction clear, which would be through cache and CCTV like we're used to, or they can more than likely go back to the Jacuzzi balcony and try and do things like they once did. Now, both of these options are pretty strong, but either way, they're going to have to try and deal with this Mira player, which means that they more than likely have to deal with logistics, which runs them into Jaeger, as well as possibly Fozo if it comes down to it.
Much ADS going to save the player's life hiding behind the mirror window, and it'll be Mira herself, Rudy there. He's saved out, thankfully, due to that well-placed ADS in the bottom left corner, ensuring that no one was going to be able to sneak a frag grenade in and open up logistics for the attackers to use. Sippin, trying to play things a little bit sneaky here too, as you guys can see. He's got that crawl-out hole prepared for himself to use. Anthony's going to strike first from Beast Coast this time, catching loading, knocking out the Capitao on the roof, trying to peer in on that Logi hatch and denying all of that execute utility that Mirage is going to try to bring into this round.
Yeah, Mirage with not enough intel, not enough insight here to really do much. They finally get a frag from Dream onto Fozo, but Sippin, they get the immediate refrag on the flank onto Benji. So this is just looking like a Beast Coast round all over. There's truly nothing that Mirage can really do right now unless they can get some serious frags, and they'll definitely need that to start this off. They'll get some of the wall broken up here from Ace on Hot and Cold, as they have gotten the double hard breach, or at least adopted it, but the mural window is actually going to stay, so they'll still have intel on Jacuzzi Balcony. This is simply just great utility usage from Beast Coast, and they win round 5. See how the rest of this breaks down as Sippin gets yet another on the flank, able to take down Nyx. Hot and Cold will actually adjust to the master balcony instead, as he'll start popping some shots of the AK-12 into the site, but nobody home for the time being. Dream finally able to find a frag as they're trying to equalize here. He'll get 2, possibly a third. That's going to be a triple here for Dream, but he finally gets shut down from Rudy. It's down to the star player here on the roster from Mirage, Hot and Cold in a 1v2. 8 seconds remain. He doesn't have enough time to put this case down. He'll attempt to do so inside of Jim, but it's more than likely going to be all for naught. And right as he hits the halfway point, Anthony wraps it up with a tight little bow, and round 5 goes to Beast Coast.
The third time now, I believe, that the members of Mirage had to take a loss while they were sticking on their diffuser plan. Just so many situations where they're being whittled down to a single player or two.
In fact, all 3 of the rounds that Beast Coast have won have actually been won in that fashion.
Yep, I knew I was remembering it in some way. I don't take those notes. Thankfully, you do, so we've got that confirmed.
I got you, buddy. I got you.
But yeah, it's just so unfortunate for Mirage here. They're getting themselves onto the site to be able to play into it, but by the time they get there, they're losing far too many players, so they're unable to actually make an attempt for the clutch just because of the fact that we're at low timed, and they have to stick the plant when the time goes down that low. So Beast Coast are going to continue to thrive upon that, picking up their 3rd round on the half, which, to be fair, for Clubhouse isn't amazing as of yet. They get the 4-2. We're kind of on the expected path for this map's defender/attacker sidedness, but if Mirage are able to vie for a 3-3, that's overall going to be written down as a pretty good half for them, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if Mirage breaks half here, a 3-3, I think that they really can't be too sad about what's going on. I mean, all of those being more of a stall out than anything. And especially inside of that last round, I believe that Mirage just got hung up on the setup from Beast Coast there. They were simply just trying to figure out exactly what was going on. They lose loading, and then when they lose loading, they're a man down. They truly can't act like they once wanted to anymore. They can't be as aggressive, and that's the big issue. Immediately after that, Beast Coast ramped things up. They're able to get yet another frag. Now you're in a 5 versus 3, and it just makes things so difficult. You know what I mean? Like, it's difficult when there's a setup that you're really not used to, especially with what's going on in logistics. You don't know the angles that are being watched or anything like that, and it's very easy for the defense to punish you in that scenario. So that's exactly what happens for Mirage. But now they're going to be attacking the basement. We're going to have another look here from Beast Coast as they're going to adopt the Mirage, or no, the Mirage, excuse me, the Mira into play yet again, alongside Fozo on the Goyo. So we have quite a bit of utility to burn for all of this offense here. Granted, we do have quite a few frag grenades. This will probably bode well for Mirage, but given that they have Sledge, this is more than likely going to be a kitchen attack. I want to see how they'll deal with the hatches here, obviously not having Habana, so they'll have to risk it for the biscuit in order to get that hatch open.
You guys saw that pop up on your screen at the beginning of the round. We've got those new Rainbow Six share skins available in the store, including our new regional sets, so be sure to go ahead and check those out if you are so inclined and interested in nice looking skins for your favorite siege operators. But either way, we're well into the action inside of round number 6 here, the final round of the first half. It's time to see whether Beast Coast can solidify this defender-sided map advantage, or if Mirage is going to be able to take the cake here with a 3-3 half scoreline. Pretty uneventful so far, since we are back to a much more bunker-centric setup here for Beast Coast, keeping pretty much every single player down in the basement to play it out this time. Mirage obviously going to be able to clear things out a bit more quickly, but they'll have to do a lot more prep work before they can even think about going down to the basement, as we're seeing now on the inside of Kitchen and over here at Blue Stairs.
Okay, well, it looks like Mirage making a possible secret play here. Do have to worry about a singular person. I do believe that's Sippin in behind the AC unit that we could see in a possible engagement, but as we are jumping back on board with Beast Coast, Mirage popping the kitchen hatch. They now have control of that. That was a little worrisome earlier on, especially with all the sledge work that had already been done. Just have to worry about those angles when you rotate in there if a possible defenseman could be holding down on one of those. But not the case here for Beast Coast, and Mirage get that open, as well as a lot of damage onto Anthony playing dummies box. That Goyo shield goes off with a bang and almost eliminates him. Sees his foot, almost able to get the damage. He literally needs one bullet to make contact with this man, and he more than likely dies. Hot and Cold trying to murder his cousin and more than likely get his name higher on the will. I don't really know what else could possibly be going on there, but with 45 seconds remaining, Mirage still need this push.
Just an in-combat accident, you know? is all that comes down to.
I swear, DNA, I didn't mean to kill him. I didn't mean to do it. I didn't.
It just
I swear.
rolled the wrong way, man. Is the physics.
It yeed when it should have yawed. I don't know.
I blame the engine. But either way, Beast Coast here. A lot of pressure coming on them from the utility, but they're responding in great kind here. Anthony with a beautiful shot. Sippin finds one from a separate position in order to knock out Benji. Dream will get revenge against Anthony, but can he carry it forward? He's now the only player assaulting from Kitchen. Nyx, seemingly a surefire kill going his way, had the info on Sippin's position, but can't execute, and that leaves it all on to Dream, but not for very long. Fozo shuts it out, and Beast Coast bring up a solid defense in the basement one more time to end the half at 4-2.
Unfortunate there for Mirage. I don't know why they exactly got up to the point where they had the execute set up and then just stopped. That seems to be a reoccurring thing here for Mirage. Truly the only round that we saw being a full-on execute that went extremely well, being their first round. I believe round 4 also went pretty well, but if I remember properly, that 4th round is where they basically just got fed the entire team. So round 1 truly being the best execute there from Mirage. And that's a pretty sad thing to say, especially, once again, given that last round and the circumstances. I mean, Mirage truly losing because Beast Coast stepped up to the plate and took it to them, not the other way around, just being reactive instead of proactive. And I hate to say this, I hate to put you on blast, Mirage, but you guys are on offense. Do you know what that name means? It means that you're the ones who go forward, not the defense. You guys have to be the ones to make the play. They're catching you off guard because of that. I'd like to see some more proactive things happen here for Mirage in the future, but that's completely washed away now. Blue. We don't have to deal with their offensive side anymore. It matters about what they can do here. Can they possibly win it on their defensive side, or can they at least get us to overtime?
That's indeed the good news. I'll be the good cop here and comment and say Mirage still with a good opportunity to turn this around, especially considering the very, very defender-sided nature of this map. But Stokes definitely still makes a good point. The rounds that were won by Mirage weren't the most convincing thing, save for one of the 2 pickups they managed to get. So that's going to leave them still, in my opinion as well, in a bit of a delicate position going into the second half. Let's take a look at this opening round, though, and see how things go for them. There is a slight roam setup, looking at Hotton's position, trying to see if he's still going to keep himself up here on the first floor, continue that, and it looks like that'll be the case. Going to be a very light position here for the most part, though. I think he's just trying to set up in the event anybody comes from strip, and then if he gets pressure, he'll probably rotate back down pretty quick.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he can possibly get the lead off pick here. That'll be a really big deal as Beast Coast are already clearing. I believe that's Anthony. Yes, indeed. Good on my silhouettes today, folks. Still actually ends up being inside of Billiard, so that'll be at least our first point of contact here. So both of these teams getting some solid information as to what is going on, but Beast Coast obviously ready for a Mirage member to be around these main stairs. This is a usual thing for the defenders to try and do, to get an early pick if the offense is not very wary of what could possibly go on, but same for that very aggressive defender as well. A solid pinch can definitely handle that situation and might possibly lose you somebody early. As of right now, though, Mirage are going to be going with the turtle setup downstairs. They also have Kayet along for the ride to lock down these hatches, and an operator that we don't get to see enough of anymore, Echo, coming into play for Nick.
We talked about in the ban phase how that may come into play considering the Maestro ban, and we really see that come to full fruition here now, as Mirage definitely wants more than likely play into this Echo pretty consistently. He can find good work on the other sites too, so Mirage still having belief in this operator despite the nerf to his invisibility of the Okai drones. As we've already seen from the past week's games, we're getting a little bit more use out of him as teams are slowly starting to work his way back into their compositions. But over half the round gone, not much happening, to be completely honest with you, as you kind of might expect with a more turtle setup on the inside of basement. For the most part, it's just Beast Coast trying to gather intel, and quite a bit they've gathered, but unfortunately at the cost of also quite a few of their drones here, losing half of them already. But to try and use the other end as they work their way into the actual basement here, we can see Sippin starting the assault.
Yeah, this has been so far a very solid clear here from Beast Coast. Mirage not really having any contention, all except for loading. He's going to get the lead off pick here. Don't exactly know where that happened, but it's Fozo. That's a Maverick down, more than likely inside of Moto. But oh no, Sippin's going to bounce a Flame Bolt right off of Sophia's Beret. And that's actually going to keep them out of blue for a little bit. And they need that desperately, as this is actually a church execute here for Beast Coast. Rudy currently laying inside of Moto. He'll get smoked out, can no longer pressure up like he once wanted to. Anthony now with some solid positioning, works his way up the long hallway, but immediately refrag from Hot and Cold. It's a trade game back and forth. And with 15 seconds remaining, something's got to give. stopped, but it can't stop now, folks, and it won't stop. 2v2 situation, loading's been down, Ghost with a team kill. It's gonna be a 1v1, but he's not gonna have case control, and with minimal time, Hot and Cold does what he does best, wins a round for Mirage here in round 7.
What an unfortunate round for Beast Coast there. Not only does the team kill happen, but that whiffed incendiary bolt as well being sent out. That one's just unfortunate, too. That one's not even really anyone's fault. That's just super bad timing for both of those players as they accidentally walk into each other and the stars align for that bolt to hit the Zophia's head. So you have to wonder what may have transpired had that bolt hit its intended target and Beast Coast were able to execute in the way they had planned. Because even considering those errors, they're still able to nearly trade their way out to a win there as it's ultimately brought down to a 1v1. So unfortunate, but that'll ultimately serve into Mirage's favor as they get another round off of that and push themselves just one more away from tying it up against Beast Coast here.
Yeah, this is turning out to be quite the tragic comedy today. I don't really know what's going on for these guys, but Siege has definitely got all of their numbers, and I'm just really happy it's not mine, because usually it is, and usually I hate my life because of it. So we'll see exactly what they think later on if we get some hot tweets about how, you know, things just were not going certain people's way today. But we got to get through this first before we have fun on social media later on. But that last round, I love that you highlighted that Capital bolt, because that truly was the game changer. For Beast Coast. They were ready for the execute just like Mirage was, but instead of simply sitting on their hands and not really pushing forward, they attempt to push forward, arrow bounces back, and that actually just messed up the timing overall for them. I want to push this forward for everybody at home, just for a second here. Oh, immediately after that, we hop onto Rudy's perspective. We see that smoke grenade come in, pop on him, and he can no longer push, right? Well, if Sippin doesn't flame his friend, actually, all of their stuff goes off without a hitch. If you truly think about it, Rudy's able to push Moto. They're able to take control of Blue. They pinch on the people in the back of Church. It's just all done. And Beast Coast more than likely win the round because of the nice pressure that they have around that area, unless the trades obviously favor Mirage. So that would have been such a stronger execute there from Beast Coast. And they were almost able to win it still, but ended up suffering the same fate as Mirage, just losing out rounds on that timer, trying to put that case down. But that's last round, and we're in the now, folks. Let's jump on board with Beast Coast and see what they've got going on.
Mirage also cheesing the wall up a little bit there, poking some holes in it so that it takes longer for Fozo to work his way through it. Already about halfway done with it, though, as he's used a couple of his torches, you can see right there. And in fact, one of the walls has already been taken out, leaving the cheese wheel that's left over there in soft destruction. So it's actually a nice pattern. That's usually it's a bit sloppier than that. I give credit to the artistic abilities of Mirage there. But either way, they're going to be able to pick up the first kill. I don't even know how Loading line this one up, but Ghost is going to get caught, possibly through one of the windows outside. And as a result of that, Mirage will get themselves the early lead at a 5v4. Oh no, it's through the breach. He swung from the cache door to that barricade, picked up the frag on the Ghost, and already puts Beast Coast down a player.
That's a huge frag. I was more taken aback that he's using the TCSG. That was the big thing for me. We haven't seen a lot of play with this gun in quite some time. The TCSG being a semi-automatic slug shotgun, folks. That means it's got range to its game. And that's something that we actually saw Ninjas in Pajamas use quite often inside of 2020 when it was quite the potent weapon. They would constantly use that on Goyo and Kaid to have these longer distance gunfights, but from the defender position. And it worked out extremely well for them inside of their strats, especially up against SSG, up until SSG was able to come back and end up being the hammer lifter instead. But looks like we're going to have a little bit more play with that. So just remember, it's not as strong as it once was, but definitely can still get the job done as we saw earlier on. Mirage now battling back. Benji with a nice frag from Rafters, but Rudy able to pick that up from the breach.
Going down to that last minute of the round as Beast Coast have to try and find a way to press in here. Fozo still has position on the balcony, but his other two teammates are really struggling to work their way in either towards garage or construction, which is now completely out of the cards from what you guys can see. Mirage still has full control over that, rotating all the way into the construction room itself. The final two going to work their way in through the garage catwalk instead here, but the problem is no pressure on Cash. That Nitro Cell comes out, thankfully. There's restraint on the Beast Coast side of things, and that allows them to survive. Nades are working their way in also here, but you still have Nitro Cells on the defense, and there's even one more beyond the one that was just used. Also, Anthony with an amazing opportunity to find impact, and another one there too as Loading takes some heat. Hot and Cold and Dream will still be able to mop it up from the back of Cash, though, as Mirage take round 8.
Oh, and that's going to be the equalizer here for Mirage. They're able to get garage control away from Smoke's clutches and translate it here. or excuse me, Mirage actually able to translate it here. Excuse my French. They're actually on defense. Let's make sure that we get this right. Excuse me, Beast Coast actually taking control of Garage and attempting to put a plant down where Mirage ended up stopping them. And that was through a couple of different ways. We saw them try and prevent the thermal charge there from Thermite going down onto the actual panel to end up breaking that up, get that open there. The exothermic not working out at the end of the day. Just the nitro cell too strong when it came down to it. Ended up having 2 of those, and that was really what came down to it for Mirage. They were simply able to play around red and green and combat Beast Coast as they tried to enter the actual site and stop them through that means. So solid stuff for them. We really didn't see too much of a similar thing from Beast Coast there on their CCTV defenses. Excuse me.
Got another member of the Frost Gym Club here, it seems, as another team has decided to incorporate her into their strategy. I personally, from my memory, I think I've seen like 2 to 3 other teams do this now, so it's definitely starting to become a bit of a mainstay thing here inside of North America, at least for a couple of our teams. So expect to see her a little bit more if that's going to continue to be the trend, specifically for this site. I'm not sure if there's any other ones that we're starting to see here incorporated in yet, but I can specifically recall this one being a very popular one.
I mean, technically speaking, you can play her on any site.
Yeah, but
it's just that it's probably not going to be the best.
But is that a good idea, though? That's the...
Yeah, okay, those are 2 different questions.
That's not wrong.
It's like how many sites is, like Nook
it's
viable
like saying
on?
you can technically play bar stock on this map, but do you want to?
Listen, don't get Flynn started.
But
don't
do
get
you
Flynn
want
started,
to?
okay?
Absolutely not.
I'm gonna have like 3 messages later on from Flynn telling me about how that site's completely viable and I should just shut up.
Mirage is gonna take it next round now just because we said that.
Please don't, Christian. Stop it. No.
It's just a question of whether the delay hits them in time or not.
It truly is a matter of time. There's going to be an operator that completely changes the game where bar stock is viable, and I'm just going to hate my entire existence from that moment forward.
Ubi's actually working on an operator that specifically is meant to play on bar stock right now, believe it or not. That's how they're going.
His name is literally Barkeep. His operator tag is literally Barkeep. That's his operator tag.
He can throw the bottles in that room. That's his ability.
Can literally make a Molotov out of any alcoholic beverage on the map.
Glass on the ground.
He's like a mixture of Capitao and Legion. Perfect.
So this is an interesting little trick here. For those who don't know, that impact does go underneath, and I'm sure as you just noticed, impact tricks any attempt to take down that wall. So nice play there from Nyx. We've seen a couple of other teams utilizing that. Nyx is going to have a problem here, though, as he just got concussed. Not going to be able to fully hear the sound going off. I did hear the impact, but I also heard the thermite charge going off. So the second attempt to counter it, not going to be successful. Nyx is also now dead, so that makes it a little more difficult also here. Beast Coast have worked their way in and have stolen away the security and cache control. But remember, that's only step 1 of this approach here. Beast Coast still have a long way to go, and they've only got 1 minute and 7 seconds to do it.
Approval to start calling that utility dunked instead of dumped, because just getting dumped on doesn't sound good. Dunked though, that's a pretty solid thing, because that's exactly what just happened to Nyx right there. There's really no chance for him to try and fight back, being concussed, as well as having Sip and Flame off his only exit, and then having obviously Fozo in behind him, who will pick up yet another frag here for the Beast Coast squad as they're trying to claim the lead yet again. But with 40 seconds remaining now for Mirage inside of this 4v3, they still have some pretty strong position, as Jacuzzi has not been blown, so they can actually play that area. It'll be hot and cold that's playing inside of Gym, as he'll have a nice area in order to work with given the weights especially, to actually wait for Beast Coast to get aggressive and get a push going on here. And 2 big frags come through, make it a third here for Benji. He's still cleaning it up with the pistol. Now it's down to Sippin. They thought they were going to have the lead, but it's all of a sudden became a nightmare, hot and cold, and the rest of Mirage claim round 9.
Mirage with another solid hold for themselves to work their way back into this game, and in solid fashion over these past 2 rounds as well. Definitely starting to lean a lot more onto their side due to how well they dealt with, first of all, that CCTV hold there that took so long for Beast Coast to clear out, and then Beast Coast's insistence on still trying to push from the construction angle came back to bite them there, as they definitely did not have the room they needed to work with against that take from Mirage.
Yeah, and that's going to be a really big deal as well, because that's 3 sites in a row right now. That means Mirage gets to fully reset, go back to basement, and do it all over again. They only need 2 sites here, and they have access to basement as well as CCTV. This is not looking too hot for Beast Coast here. We're going to need to see some adjustments, and for them, apparently it starts with Iana.
Defenders, protect your
Not once again being a popular pick due to the fact that, in this game at least, Ashe is banned. So, yeah, that's kind of becoming the fallback for a couple of our players here specifically.
We'll just go with
Yeah,
that. We'll just go with that.
That's the most obvious reason why, anyway. But the extra intel is certainly going to be useful here. We already saw one round where Beast Coast were struggling with drones, especially towards the end of the round when they only had like 2 to 3 left alive there, and more than likely didn't have the time to properly use them anymore at that point. So having the more on-command drone here for Sippin is going to be probably actually pretty useful, especially considering they're going up against a basement attack again, where that drone intel is really going to be the make or break thing that allows a team into the site.
Yeah, well, the thing right now is that this drone utility is going to be very difficult to utilize properly here, given the setup and the circumstances. We can see that Mirage are going for the exact same setup that we saw from Beast Coast for this roam setup. Obviously, some rotation holes might be different, so don't quote me fully on that, Twitch chat, okay? Let's not be mean today, all right? Anyways, given the lineup here, it's going to be difficult for Beast Coast to work all of that into sight. This is where Sippin could be a huge piece of the puzzle here for Beast Coast actually trying to get in. Only issue right now for him, though, is mute jammers exist. And if they did not set all of those upstairs and some of them are lingering around site, they're not going to get as much mileage from that hologram as they once thought that they could. Now it seems as though Beast Coast at least have a really good read here on the situation, on the roam game here for Mirage. Read out Hot and Cold perfectly. He's playing the bar area as Vigil, and as soon as he rotates into Kitchen, the cross is already set up and dusted here for Beast Coast, able to take him down, almost catch one rotating up main stairs, as well as Mirage are actually sticking to the roam game after losing one.
Would have been so unfortunate how they lost a player there. As far as I can tell, no drones in that area against Nyx as he was rotating back up. So that was just pure timing on that shot there by the main stairs window. Definitely wouldn't have liked to lose another player through those circumstances, but not going to transpire that way today. Nyx is now going to be in position at bottom blue as he rotates his way back downstairs here and away from that aggressive fight at the window. Benji still maintaining his spot also. But Benji going to fire a couple shots out here against Beast Coast, who have just taken that stairs control and are slowly starting to swing their way down.
Well, with Hot and Cold off the board, this is the time where we see if Mirage have made any improvements, Blue. We talked about it in the pre-show, not only on the analyst desk, but also amongst us, that Hot and Cold is the star player on this roster. He's the 3rd highest rated in all of the league right now for the NAL, and with him currently dead, they're going to need to step up to the plate and secure this round, push themselves onto match point without that top frag. And it all starts now. The kitchen hatch getting popped open. Utility in with those stun grenades as well to try and limit those impact grenades. Beast Coast really strong so far trying to get these openings.
Now Loading did have both of his impacts there to try to play against that breach, but I think actually made a very smart choice in choosing not to engage against it here due to the fact that there were players trained on him if he got too close to the action. Now, here's the problem, though. Mirage are going to have to translate this in kills in the late round, and that's not necessarily going their way. Sippin with some nice finds, the most recent one against Dream, but at the same time, also losing Fozo and Anthony from this exchange. Nyx fends off another one. A great shot from Sippin to get him his 2nd on the round here, but Benji and Nyx are there to fire right back as Mirage take their penultimate round here to push them up to 6.
Fantastic stuff from Mirage. And finally, we see the round that we needed to see so desperately from Mirage. Hot and Cold down. They have to try and make the play themselves, and they're able to do so. Almost every single member of Mirage having a hand inside of that round. Such solid stuff. And it looks like Veli might be right about the situation right now. Mirage finally past the difficult part of their schedule. They get up against a squad like Beast Coast, which a lot of us have been praising highly this season for having a really, really strong start, especially up against TSM. But now they're down 2 rounds. They're onto the timeout. They have to try and figure things out before this gets out of hand. And the terrible thing is that it already has. They need 2 rounds in a row to lock this up and at least get overtime and guarantee 1 point. If not, Mirage locks us out in regulation, and that's going to be a fat 3 for them.
Jesse wants everyone to know that that was his point, not Veli's. So,
well, they made the same point.
Just making sure that the
you guys literally said the exact same thing.
Given out appropriately.
I mean, next time don't let your host copy your homework, man. Come on, like, come on, dude. Come on.
Jesse also says he hates it here. So,
I mean, you know.
I'm just going to relay his text messages to us, and there's nothing he can do to stop me. Moving on to our next site here, we're going to see.
You can't be mad at me. I'm just reading the prompt.
Yeah, no, I'm just reading what's in front of me. We're going to CCTV and Cash for what could be the final round of the map if Mirage are able to continue their dominance here, as they've been on quite the streak. Beast Coast struggling to pick up a single round on this attacking side so far, and Mirage with 4 in a row, possibly about to make it 5, could close out the map here.
And the funniest, oh, not the funniest, probably the hardest thing right now for Beast Coast is the fact that they're the ones who limited soft destruction on the offense and just took away that one singular piece that everyone is so used to having access to inside of Rainbow Six Siege, Ash. And it seems like, well, at least as of right now, that Beast Coast could possibly have dealt with that when it comes to actually pushing into sight. Sippin's doing extremely well right now, especially on the Yana, getting this playthrough, getting some nice frags, and really just being able to lurk around the map and find some of these big impacts. But, you know, it leads the question of, could that possibly have an effect on their play? I don't truly think that it could, but it is something that could possibly be an issue for them in the future. So we'll have to see in the future if they go away from those awkward, you know, soft destructor bans. But possible last round now out and onto the field here for Beast Coast, as they still need these 2 rounds at CCTV for Mirage for our possible last one.
Got another text message from Jesse giving us a very interesting stat here. Prior to this game, Loading has only acquired 13 kills in all the previous matches so far in the NAL. So if he gets
no, he's not gonna double it.
So if he gets 2 more kills here, he will have doubled his overall kill count.
Why did you have to do Chase like that? Oh, Jesse, you're gonna do that to Loading? I mean, honestly, much better game today, and he's probably happy to hear about that stat line, to be completely honest with you. I'm just trying to mess with you a little bit, but still, for Loading, it's not done just yet. He's matched Hot and Cold in pace, but he's actually surpassed him in assists. So technically the best player inside of the lobby right now, and that's something that I've been waiting to say all season. Loading, someone that's been grinding out Rainbow Six Siege for such a long time, I can't even remember when he stopped playing the game. The guy's been around since Macy J had a YouTube channel, one of his original friends. This guy has been gaming for so long here, and he's finally had his successful game inside of the NAL. Extremely excited for him, but they still need to lock this one out up against Beast Coast. Beast Coast have already done quite the bang-up job of starting to break up the site. They're starting to try to work on Garage, and that's where Benji currently stands in their way with this FMG9, and he can actually get quite a few frags here given that 1.5 scope. You can see how Beast Coast really want to get him out of here. They're more than likely going to have to try and assist him in some way, because in comes the burn for the ADS. A nade is soon to follow from Anthony. Will it find the frag? Another one comes through. Can it deal the damage? Oh, no, it can't. And in fact, Hot and Cold gets one instead. Another nade out. Benji not able to clean up the Yana, but he's actually able to crawl away instead. They're going to waste 2 frag grenades, killing him as well. That's all the frag grenades off the board for the offense.
It looked like more than that. 4 frag grenades, I think, used on him.
They had 6 in total.
6 total in this arsenal, and I think most, if not all of them, were just used on Benji right there. So, I mean, honestly, credit to Benji for surviving that long. Beast Coast trying to frag him out. Didn't really seem like they had the appropriate intel.
Nyx!
That's a big play from Nyx, though, as he hops out the window, finds the response frag onto Rudy, and once again puts Beast Coast on the back foot here in a 4v3 with only 30 seconds left to respond as well.
Well, Mirage, low on utility, don't have the nitro cells to try and stop a plant, but it doesn't look like they necessarily will have to. It's a 2v3 now as Anthony picks up a frag. He's going for the second one. They realize there's a red player right now for Mirage, and that's what they're mostly trying to shut down. Anthony's able to get case control, and he's going to have to go for the plant soon. He's able to find a frag. This flick's so important from Bozo, but he overdoes it, and Nyx seals it out for Mirage. They're able to close things out, and finally, not Loading, able to stand on top of the mountain and scream from the rooftops. He seals the deal here, folks. He's the #1 player on Mirage as they win 7-4 here on Clubhouse.
It's going to be a flawless second half, a defensive half for Mirage as well. Be honest, a bit of a bumpy start in the first half from them, but they rebound beautifully for a 7-4 finish.
Pass him!
Yes, yeah, Hot and Cold's actually going to end up popping up the scoreboard there at 13-7. Loading will be slightly behind at 11-7. Dream with a pretty respectable game there, too. I think 10-6, if I saw it correctly before it went away from my screen there for a second. But either way, some really great performances from multiple members of the Mirage roster today, and a very well-deserved win, especially on that defensive half. Unfortunately, Beast Coast just couldn't get anything going whatsoever when it came to that attacking side.
Yeah, very strange as well, just given the circumstances of how the bans went. I mean, we really only had Habana as a very influential ban when it came to breaking up the actual map. Obviously, Ash being a very strong soft destructor now, having 3 breaching charges as well as 3 breaching rounds. And that's that secondary ban that we saw for the offense. But the thing is that means Thatcher is alive and well. You can use him whenever. We didn't see any Thatcher usage. We didn't really see any true takeover of the actual site when it came down to this Beast Coast squad. They were stuck at the door almost every single time, and that truly just seemed to be the largest issue. The entries just not being or not really inclined towards them. It seemed more often than not when trades did ensue, it was always Mirage on top of the pile, and that's exactly why we saw that huge run on their defensive half, 5 rounds in a row.
All right, guys, that's going to close out our first match of the day. Stick with us. We're going to take a short break, and when we do come back, Belly, the analyst, is going to break down map number 1 and get us ready for our second match.